Hey there. Welcome to Broadway Radical. We're going to talk about Thoroughly Modern Millie. Summary. So we're in Salina, Kansas, right? But only for a second, because that place is gross. Trust me, I've been there. It's 1922, and we're in New York City now, and this chick Millie Dillmount is like, you know what would be a great idea? And everybody's like, what would be a great idea? And she's like, what if I became thoroughly modern? Everybody's like, yeah, that's such a good idea. And she's like, I know, right? So then she does that. And then she gets mugged. And then there just happens to be this attractive and carefree young man, Jimmy, walking by. And she's like, help me. And he's like, lol, no. So then she goes to this hotel. And the proprietor is this old white lady in basically yellow face who runs a quote unquote white slavery ring in quote unquote the Orient, and there's just so many things to say about that. I'm not even gonna just anyway. Millie meets this rich girl named Dorothy, and they become roommates because Dorothy pays her rent because she wants to know what it's like to be poor. A lot of the story has to do with rich people suddenly being interested in poor people. But then Millie goes to work for this dude as a stenographer, and she's like, hey, you're super hot and also rich. Let's get married. And he's like, lol, no. Later, she goes out with the girls to a speakeasy. Then everybody there gets arrested, and in jail, Jimmy, the attractive, carefree tenor, is like, wow, I love Millie suddenly. And he's like, hey, come to this thing with me. And she does, and they kiss. But then she sees him with Dorothy and assumes they're doing it and gets super pissed. Later, Millie's like, nah, I'm still gonna try to marry my boss, and he's still like, lol, no. Then he meets Dorothy, and they're like, oh, you're super hot. And then Jimmy breaks into the building, which is a crime, and asks Millie out, and they're like, oh, you're also super hot. And, oh yeah, there's this Asian dude who works for the hotel lady who's in love with Dorothy now, I guess, and they're all like, oh, you're super hot together. And some other stuff happens. Dorothy falls in love with the Asian dude instead now. They all figure out what the hotel lady's up to and stop her. Then everybody gets married. Oh, and guess what? Turns out that Jimmy and Dorothy are brother and sister, and like the richest people secretly. Isn't that convenient? So they all live happily ever after, I guess. And scene. So that was the Broadway. Here's the Radical. Okay, straight up, I am not going to touch the whole white slavery / the Orient thing, because I've done a lot of videos about race lately, and I don't even know where to begin with that. So, instead, we're going to talk about feminism! Yeah! This is not what I'd call a particularly feminist musical. It passes the Bechdel test, like, just barely, but even aside from that, so Millie from the start is self-motivated. She knows she's on the cusp of a new wave of feminist thinking where, despite the almost insurmountable amount of barriers to her success as a woman, she might have a chance to make something of herself. She decides to use the system that marginalizes her to her advantage. If she's going to be made a housewife, then by God, she's going to be the housewife of a successful man who can help her achieve her dreams. And what other choice does she really have? Especially at this point in history, not that it's super great today, there's just no opportunity for her to be where she wants to be. She doesn't want to marry a rich man for his money, but the opportunities that come with it. This is not unnoble. Yet, the musical treats this struggle, as musicals are often wont to do, without any context or nuance. The flapper movement, tied in with the suffrage movements of the 1920s, are not only ignored, but turned into a cheap aesthetic. It becomes about the dresses and the pearls and the dancing instead of the struggle against systemic injustice and social norms it always was. In it, Millie learns the opposite lesson from a historical standpoint. She learns that she needs a man's love to be worth anything. Oh, and because the musical wants to have it both ways, he ends up also being extremely wealthy. How great! A similar thing happens with Dorothy as well. She goes out trying to find success as an actress and is reduced, as Millie is, to the role of wife. But what about Janine Desiree? She's a woman. She wrote the music. Yeah, the music. But the lyrics? A man. The book? A man. The film it was based on? Written by a man. Directed, produced by a man. We need to start demanding more of our musicals. The self-motivated, brave, charming, intelligent women that exist everywhere in real life have so little representation in the media at large, but also particularly Broadway. In some ways, we've progressed a lot over the last few decades, but in others, we're still in the 1920s. Hi guys! Hope you liked the video. I love you personally. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to see another great video, or video plural, click my face. If you want to, I'll keep holding my finger here till you do. That's where I'm going to put the annotation, right here. Click it. I know you want to. You know you want to. Or you can also subscribe, or like the video, or dislike the video. Do whatever you want. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to suggest that you click my face. Sort of a creepy face I just made. If you